Welcome to tonight's CityWide Sports Network college basketball telecast on CW35 in San Antonio and KFOX 14 in El Paso as the UTSA Roadrunners host CUSA rival, the UTEP Miners. This is Mike Lefko with Chuck McIntyre from the Convocation Center on the UTSA campus. And welcome to the Gun Automotive Group pregame show. It's presented by Gun Automotive Group, where buying your next vehicle is real simple. GunAuto.com. So the Miners and the Roadrunners, a pretty even matchup in the conference standings. Two teams kind of looking to gain some momentum into this one.
Most definitely. UTEP coming off a win already. They played a week ago tonight. And for UTSA, the last time we saw them, they were hot. Well, they've lost 3 in a row. All 3 of those games infinitely winnable. They're just going to need more offense, and they're going to have to be better at that offense down the stretch to try to turn some of these losses into victories.
It's a pair of sophomores that lead their respective teams. For UTEP, a guy who has really turned it on in conference play.
Yeah, Isaiah Osborne comes to the UTEP program from Canada, and the coaches were telling us they really feel like this young man is their most versatile guy, and they signed him basically sight unseen. They saw some tape on him. They're really glad to have him, as you can see, scoring 16.4 per.
For UTSA, another sophomore, the guy who's kind of been their crunch time scorer.
Yeah, Giovanni DiNicolau is a pass-first kind of point guard, but certainly not afraid of the big moment. He's taken some big shots in 2 of their last 5 games. He made a game-winning shot, missed one, but clearly one of those guys that is not afraid of the moment, and UTSA will be leaning on him tonight.
Chuck's keys to the matchup and more on the series history between the Miners and the Roadrunners when we continue our pregame coverage. Welcome back to the Gun Automotive Group pregame show. And as you know, Gun Auto keeps things real simple. So we're going to make this real simple. For the Miners, they have to do what to win this game?
Well, they've got to give everybody a show. They got to prove to people that they can play for an entire game and not just in spurts. And then they got to get out and get some easy baskets tonight if they're going to win this game.
And for UTSA, what do they have to do to defend their home court?
Well, they got to limit turnovers. That's been something that they've been key on all season long. And then they've got to make some shots. Scoring has been a little bit of a trouble spot for these guys over the last few games.
This is a matchup where 2 teams are pretty familiar with each other. More on the series history and then the starting lineups coming up later as we get ready for the Miners and the Roadrunners. Welcome back to the Gun Automotive Group pregame show. UTEP and UTSA, longtime Conference USA members, they have been pretty familiar with each other, but this series has been dominated by UTEP, except here in San Antonio, the last 2 games have gone the way of the Roadrunners. Starting lineups and more coming up next. UTEP and UTSA set to meet for the first time this season. Moments away from tip-off here at the Convocation Center, and it's time to take a look at tonight's starting lineups. They're presented by IHOP. Visit IHOP.com. We touched on the 2 men in the open, Giovanni DiNicolau and Isaiah Osborne, but here's an interesting note for UTSA. Javon Jackson, their leading scorer, makes his first start, so Steve Henson may be hoping for some infusion of offense right away from the freshman.
Absolutely. You got your leading scorer. He's done a great job coming off the bench. Now he's going to get a chance to start tonight, and they'll see if it'll infuse this entire offense, because this is a share the ball team, and we'll see. All these guys have got to pick it up.
Here's UTEP interim head coach Phil Johnson. Now Tim Floyd, longtime head coach in a variety of places, including with the Chicago Bulls, retired on November 28th. Johnson, his longtime assistant at all of those stops, has taken over, and he's 6-6 in his first 12 games. Early offense from Allen. It's pulled down by Isaiah Osborne, who we just mentioned at the top of the broadcast, their leading scorer in conference, a sophomore from Windsor, Ontario for UTEP. There's Osborne getting right after it. Shot missed down to the Roadrunners. George Wilborn's also been an emergence in the starting lineup. This is his 3rd straight start, and he's a guy who also provides some scoring punch for this UTSA team.
Now, it was really good defense by UTEP to start. That's going to be a big key for them tonight as well. Transition D, stopping UTSA from getting out and running.
Wilborn tries to go up over the 7'1" Wilms. Leaves it down for Osborne.
UTSA trying to attack early, the big fella in the middle.
And a runner, a step back by Kobe McGee, a freshman and a San Antonio native. These teams can't find a basket in the early going, still 0-0. Well, UTEP hasn't won on the road this year. 0-3. UTSA in a rare home drought. Giovanni De Nicolau puts them on the board first.
And that's what UTSA has to do, Mike. You know, they like to pass the ball, work the ball around, find an open shot. They've got to just knock them down. And little handsy there on the defensive side almost created a turnover.
Phil Johnson was pleased with his minors team, only turned the ball over 7 times in their win against FIU on Saturday. There's a strong take to the rack by Paul Thomas, and Thomas will go to the line. For UTSA, they've been so good under Steve Henson at home, just 6 total losses in his 2 years at home. And this is a guy who brings that big-time pedigree. We've talked about his time at Oklahoma and UNLV, and of course in the NBA as well. He's still trying to mold them kind of in his vision.
Well, you know, they had a key injury to one of their bigs early on in the season, and they're not by any stretch one of the bigger teams in this league, but again, they play the right way. They share the ball, they move the ball, and surprisingly, even though they're not very big, they rebound the ball as well as anybody.
So Thomas gets the 2. The foul to go on Nick Allen, his first, and the team's first. There's Javon Jackson off the side. Offensive board, Roadrunners.
We already see UTEP junking it up on the defensive end. And we don't know what we're going to get exactly from UTEP. A nice pass inside.
Wilborn can't finish, but a good look through traffic. And here comes McGee in transition. There's a kick to Omega Harris, who drains the 3.
This is a team that can shoot threes as well. Usually what they'd like to do is feed the middle and then kick it back out. UTSA is getting some good looks early, just can't get it to go.
Quick pace of play in the early going. From the corner, there's the San Antonio freshman, Kobe McGee. We were told he has 31 people in attendance, and he had to cut his list in half to get everyone into the gym that he wanted here today.
Well, he went to Brandeis, so he played in a really tough North Side school district. He's been a really nice surprise for them early on.
8-3 lead for the Miners. De Nicolau short off the side. And there's Wilms, the 7'1" grad student. He's really had an interesting career. Injured, missed all of 15-16, and redshirted in 2012-2013. More on him in a second, just how long he has kind of been here with UTEP. The UTSA pushing and has the basketball across half court. Allen rises, swishes on the right side.
Poetic justice, right? He was the guy that created the turnover and then worked himself into some open space on the offensive end and drained the bucket.
Nick Allen has 2, De Nicolau has 3. Scoring for the Roadrunners. A couple of 3-pointers by Harris and McGee help push UTEP out to the lead. There's a kick to Paul Thomas, and he strokes one.
UTSA is so worried about the big man in the middle. They're sagging and letting shooters shoot. When you get guys shots from the elbow, they're going to knock them down more often than not.
Paul Thomas had a double-double last year against the Roadrunners. De Nicolau hits 3 times, doesn't go.
Just a tick off offensively for UTSA, and that's kind of been the mantra over the last 3 games. You know, scoring was not a problem for this team for most of the season. It's just been a little bit of a struggle here of late.
Foul down low, that'll bring a timeout on the court. UTEP shooting early, they lead by 5. Welcome back to the Convocation Center. UTEP has doubled up UTSA early. And the first half of tonight's CSN basketball telecast is brought to you by Lymphedema MD. Chronic swelling of arms and legs. Call Lymphedema MD at 210-702-3401. Hot shooting start from behind the 3-point line for UTEP, Chuck, and this has really been the difference here in the early going.
Yeah, I mean, when you come out and drain 2 out of 3, then all of a sudden the middle starts opening up. They're shooting 60% They're also out-rebounding UTSA 6-3, so that's also been key into UTEP grabbing this early advantage.
There's Will going to work on Toby Van Rye, who had to check in for Nick Allen. Picked up his second foul right before the break, and Wilms takes advantage for 2.
Van Rye's 6'10", so he's given up a few inches, but yeah, having Allen out of the game, that's a huge loss for UTSA early.
Just step back and no good. Meanwhile, the Roadrunners, their bread and butter's been the three-pointer. They're just 1 for 5 to start this one. But the dueling 41s will be an interesting battle. They're looking down to Wilms once again on the redshirt junior, Toby Van Rye.
And Van Rye's fronting him right now.
Wilms up strong, back-to-back baskets.
Yeah, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do, Van Rye did. He left and went to go to the ball, but there was nobody else that rotated over to Wilms, and he got an easy layup.
6-0 run for UTEP. In the last minute plus. They've also made their last 5 field goals. Van Rye shovels the Dion Lyle. Hard fought, off the side, no good, down to Wilms. McGee looked like he was gonna push, and now it's lost on the deck, trickling around, and tapped out of bounds. Well, CSN's first half scoreboard is sponsored by John Wayne Service Company. When you need heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical help, make just one call to fix it all, 210-293-6700.
Keaton Wallace also in the game, and he's one of those guys that seemed like he had the market cornered on Freshman Player of the Week honors in Conference USA between he and Javon Jackson, and shooting has been a little bit of trouble for him lately, but he's a guy that can light it up with the best of them when he's got it going.
And a great pass down there was blocked away by Osborne. Already UTEP with a couple of blocks in the early going. The Wallace and Jackson, yeah, you're right, have dominated the Conference Freshman of the Week awards. They've won 7 of the 10 total. There's Osborne, the 3 and the foul.
Wow, what a nice stroke that was. Wide open in the corner, and then the UTSA defense late getting over there. And rule number 1, never foul a jump shooter, especially a guy that can really light it up like Osborne. Nothing but the bottom.
Osborne has poured it on in conference play. We mentioned that at the top of the broadcast. Now all your first half instant replays are brought to you by Thomas J. Henry. When you or your family need help, call Thomas J. Henry 24/7 nights and weekends, 210-656-1000. And that foul in the backcourt goes on Paul Thomas, his first. And the first foul called tonight in the minors.
UTSA just seems a little out of sorts to start this game, and conversely, UTEP playing with an awful lot of confidence as that 10-0 run shows.
And that's in the last 2:20 also. Now a turnover and a foul brings it back the other way.
Yeah, I called UTSA for a moving screen, and boy, it's really been a struggle for UTSA to try to find some sort of cohesion with the offense here over the last 2 weeks.
Well, this is a team, yeah, that had been so good at home, too.
Absolutely.
They were 6-0 at home. They've lost 3 straight, and all by a very close margin. So their 3 home losses have been by a total of 8 points.
UTEP is just picking UTSA apart, setting all kinds of them, and got to have a foul there, or they're going to give up a layup.
Javon Jackson has just picked up his second. That's 2 starters with 2 fouls in the first 6.5 minutes for UTSA. And your leading scorer, Javon Jackson. His first career start. He's back on the bench now in significant foul trouble. Wilborn trying to make the offense happen. He is tied up, and then some contact and some tempers flaring between Omega Harris and George Wilborn.
Saturday night's all right, right?
Big crowd, and they're playing to it.
That's right. And conference foes getting after it. Obviously, both these teams want to win, but great job by Omega cutting off the pass and then getting the jump ball, and then both guys decide they're going to try to be the alpha and the omega. See who was going to be the last guy standing.
Like yeah. Naturally, there's going to be tensions flaring, and you get the aggression, the adrenaline going. there was a little shoving when the arms were tied up. I think what the referees don't like is the fact that after they tried to stop them, you watch here, it's going to keep going. Right after the referees came in, they still started jawing at each other. And then they had to be separated. So, yeah, you get your arms locked up, you push them aside. But the repetitive insurgency, perhaps.
The refs did a great job getting in there quickly and breaking that up. I mean, last thing you want is a couple of alpha dogs going at it. Got them separated. Now they'll get it all sorted out, and we'll see where this all ends up going. But again, UTSA they've got to find something that works offensively, and I know they've been working hard at it. We talked to Coach Henson this morning, and he said, Monday's practice was all about us. They took the snow day on Tuesday. And then he said, hey, Wednesday and Thursday were kind of rough, but he really felt like they had a great practice on Friday, got some things figured out, but sometimes you just got to play with confidence. It just looks like they're a little shaky on that end. Nothing wrong with a fight in these dogs, though.
Well, and it's interesting that the initial indication there, did you see the technical sign was given to Omega Harris immediately. The referee did look him in the face and say technical. Nothing was given to George Wilborn III. But now they've gone to monitor to see if there was some contact, if there's something that could be charged to either player. But it's been a frustrating start for the Roadrunners. They haven't scored in over 3 minutes, and they're shooting just 17%.
Yeah.
They're 2 for 12 to start this game.
It's that, and then you've got guys in foul trouble too, so it's kind of snowballing on them early on in this basketball game. You've got to figure out a way to get some stops too, because it seems like UTEP, whether it's inside or outside, has it going, and then they're trying to force the action on the offensive end, and they're being just a little too quick.
Well, the indication is double technical fouls. So that does go as a personal foul. So that's the first on Harris and the first on Wilborn. And then if you do get a second technical, you are ejected from the game. But luckily for UTSA, already with 2 people in foul trouble, Wilborn was the guy who did not have a foul yet. So just his first, and the first on Harris as well. But now you have to sort out who shoots the free throw, which order, and all that. So that's the continued discussion right now between coaching staffs and referees. There you're getting an explanation here as well. Yeah. So we're going to see, once again, just that contact. No elbows there.
All right, that's a first.
You helped out the referees.
No, actually, the truck did, but I helped facilitate. They're asking me what the 2 numbers were, and it's like, huh? I was just looking for the numbers on the jerseys.
They thought you were somebody new.
I don't know if they were looking for somebody to see if 2 guys jumped into the fray, but no, it was clearly just 2 guys, 35 and 2, and thankfully we've got basketball.
We'll see if this makes an impact one way or another, momentum-wise. Well, seems like the momentum has continued here for UTEP.
Yeah, Isaiah Osborne, I mean, now he's beating guys off the dribble. That was super athletic, good burst, and then a strong finish at the hole.
Well, Austin Carr has now come in as well for UTSA. Roadrunners trailed by 14. Wallace step back, off the back and tipped around. Van Rye had it for a moment.
Yeah, I think they got to pound the big guy too. Van Rye looked like he was about 5 feet from the cup, and they're already looking to kick out.
Running Shepard McGee.
If it's not one guy, it's another. UTEP off to a blazing start in this one.
The all-time leading scorer at Brandeis High School, 1,876 points for the freshman from San Antonio.
Oh, UTSA needed that. Keaton Wallace, clearly when this season started, looked like he might have been the entire steal. I mean, the best steal that the conference ever had, getting this guy to come to school here, the way he was performing to start his career.
That ends a 13-0 run. The Miners had been on for the last 5 minutes. as Dion Lyle back-to-back threes here for the Roadrunners.
Now, it seems like we say this every single time Dion Lyle steps on the floor, but he's just like instant momentum for UTSA every single time he checks into a ball game, comes in and always seems to hit a very big shot.
Still a double-digit lead for UTEP as Omega Harris works with it, and Harris strikes back. That was a long two-pointer for Harris, 5 points for the senior. It was a preseason all-conference selection to begin this season. Lyle's gonna try again, got it again.
When in doubt, you know, a little helter-skelter for UTSA, throwing the ball around the parking lot. Lyles just said, give me the rock, I'll get you some threes.
How about the pace of this game? UTEP keeps piling it on here. We're not even halfway through. And now look at the three-point shooting. 3 for 5 for the Miners, 4 for 9. Add another one for Isaiah Osborne from distance.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something about that. I mean, you cannot leave this guy that wide open. He's gonna kill you.
Their interim head coach, Phil Johnson, called him probably their most versatile player. And Isaiah Osborne can shoot the three, he can go in and score, and right now he's doing that. 8 points for Osborne. UTEP up big, they lead by double digits. It's been a torrid pace for UTEP, and that's pushed them out to a double-digit lead. Miners shooting hot early. We'll get to that in a second. But first, our UTSA trivia question tonight, brought to you by Computer Nerds. Where does Javon Jackson rank among freshmen in the country in scoring? Yes, I'm hitting the Z hard there. Computer Nerds, helping people use computers. Call 1-800-493-NERD. Well, Jackson's been prolific, but on the bench with foul trouble right now. Picked up 2 early fouls. And UTEP just continues to shoot back and forth. They've come out and they're hitting 67% from the 3-point line. And they have shared the ball well. 5 assists and just 1 turnover. This is a team that only had 7 assists all of last game. And they already have 5.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that every single guy that is suited up for them tonight and played is shooting 50% or better from the floor. So, you know, UTSA has done a pretty good job rebounding the basketball. They've been really good in transition, but they've got to do a better job of locking down on that end of the floor. And then it looks like they've gotten a little bit more rhythm to their offense. So at least they've cleaned that up, but I don't know what they're looking at now, but this has been a lot of starting and stopping to start this game.
Well, they needed you again for the assist, so you've done well over there.
Oh, it's so funny. It's like, hey, are we here to help with the refs or call the game? I guess a little bit of both.
They go to the sharp-dressed people. Maybe that's why. They thought they knew what you were doing.
It's got to be the shoes.
The shoes. Got to be the shoes. But early going, it has been UTEP. That balance to Isaiah Osborne with 8 points. Looks like they're reviewing to see if it was a 3 or a 2.
And also, we got to put some time back on the clock, it looks like.
I think that was a couple possessions ago. They might have motioned. So what you could do after a play like that, you can motion to the scorers table and say you want to review that at the next dead ball. It looks like that's what's happening. And that was a play that happened a long time ago. And with the way this game has gone up and down the court, that was about 6 possessions ago, it feels like.
Yeah, it seems like we've done more stuff with the referees tonight than we have called game action. That's what's so weird about what's going on in all the sports everywhere. Replay, replay, and more replay.
Well, to reset the situation here for you, UTEP went on a 13-0 run to grab this double-digit lead, and UTSA has been hurt by foul trouble. 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes to starter Nick Allen and Javon Jackson. Now, both of them are on the bench. Jackson got his first career start, the freshman who had led the Roadrunners in scoring, but he's on the bench in foul trouble. And for UTEP, their freshman from San Antonio, back in his hometown, Kobe McGee, already has 5 points.
And I'll tell you what, this is one of the things you don't want to do if you're UTEP. Put a score on the line early, especially a scorer that's kind of been looking for his stroke here of late.
Yeah, and Keaton Wallace is a great free throw shooter, 87% free throw shooter. As he hits both of them. But still double digits for UTEP. They've had this significant lead in the past 5 minutes plus. Fadeaway three by Keith Frazier, who's in the game for the first time. Now he's an interesting story, the 6'5" grad student out of Dallas. McDonald's High School All-American, played at SMU for 3 years, transferred to North Texas, and now here for his final season with the Miners. And a timeout on that loose ball. It'll stay with the Roadrunners.
Gotta like that. Loose ball, 50-50 ball, and Austin Carr doing his thing, laying out for his squad and getting a timeout and maintaining possession, which UTSA desperately needs at this point, down 10.
Now, we noted during one of those delays, we were able to kind of dig through the stats that the Roadrunners have started to shoot a lot better since that 2 for 12 start. Now, they've knocked down a few more. And the three-point percentage has also kind of bookended up as well. They've made 4, as has UTEP. And this is a team we know in UTSA that will shoot a lot of threes in the hopes that then they will make a lot of threes. Just volume leads to volume.
Well, I mean, and they're such a better shooting team this year under Steve Henson. They've kind of revamped their entire offense. But it's an interesting dynamic, Mike. You know, we called a number of their games this year, and I mean, offense was the least of this team's worries for most of the year. But, you know, you go out and you lose 2 or 3 close games in a row like they have, and all of a sudden, you know, it can mess with your confidence a little bit. And sometimes, you know, you got to watch the ball going a couple of times before that confidence comes back.
Hard traps out of that. A couple of new players on the court for the Miners, and there's a 3 knocked down again by Keaton Wallace.
Well, I'll tell you what, he doesn't need much room, does he? He didn't even look like he should have taken that shot. But again, sometimes you send a shooter to the free throw line and he gets to watch a couple go down, and all of a sudden confidence goes right through the roof.
Evan Gilliard on the court now for UTEP as UTSA shows some zone. You know, UTEP would show some junk defenses. They have shown a couple of variations of zone as Paul Thomas slices through the middle.
So you just can't allow that to happen. I mean, you got 4 guys standing around. They feed the post, and then he just gets a layup out of that.
There's a hand check foul called on the freshman Gilliard. It's his first.
Yeah, Gilliard's doing a really good job hawking the point guard, trying to make him work even across the timeline. But as we take a look at the last basket, you just can't allow that to happen.
Wallace gonna try again, got it again.
Oh, 22's got it going now. So important for UTSA to try to get this guy and his offense back. And you know, he wasn't the only guy that was struggling to find a shot over the last few, but I'll tell you what, he's certainly looking the part now.
Errant shot by Frazier. Goes over the top, doesn't hit anything, and it'll go back to the Roadrunners.
Let's see, you know, UTEP, as well as they played in this game, you can't go down and just have some empty possessions like that. That was a bad shot. You don't want to give UTSA any more momentum as they try to chip into this lead.
Cronin taking it strong, feeds Ramlow.
How many times have we seen Cronin do just whatever this team needs? He beats his man off the dribble, takes it strong to the rack, forces other guys to leave their man to come cover him and cut him off. He finds Ramlow for the slam.
Osborne steps into another one.
Jeepers creepers. How many times is UTSA going to watch this guy? He is just absolutely on fire.
Knocked down 3 threes already. A sophomore from Windsor, Ontario. We'll have more on him coming out of the break. An interesting story about how he got to the Miners. That's coming up. UTSA clawing back. The Miners, though, still lead. The Miners continue to lead. UTSA, though, has cut it to single digits. And now let's take a look at our NCAA scoreboard, brought to you by HEB. No store does more than my HEB. Bedlam, you see that big upset. Number 4 Oklahoma goes down to Oklahoma State in overtime. And Texas Tech loses its 2nd straight on the road. They lost at Texas earlier this week, and they fall at Iowa State. The Big 12, so difficult. Another ranked team, TCU, goes down. So Maybe an up and down day for Steve Henson, his old job. Oklahoma loses, but place he played at, Kansas State, gets a nice win.
I just don't like all of our Texas schools having a rough day, it looked like today.
Pass over here to the scorer's table and the announcer's table almost. Were you ready for that? I kind of was.
No, I was looking at the monitor going,
where's that ball coming? Oh,
right
to us. Hands ready, quick hands to grab that one.
UTSA's got to figure something out on the defensive end here. UTEP shooting a blistering 63% in this ball game. Law of averages says that's coming down, but I don't know if they keep getting these wide open looks.
The scoring has emerged off the bench for UTSA, helped out certainly by Wallace not starting. He's been a good impact off the bench, and maybe that was the plan for Steve Henson. Give his freshman a little bit of a pressure off of him when you come off the bench instead of starting. Wallace has carried them with 11, tries again, off the front, no good.
He had it going there the last few trips, so don't blame him for doing that, but after getting a strong rebound the last time, UTSA's got to turn it up again on defense.
With the foul trouble, the Roadrunners have played some zone. Javon Jackson's back out there with 2 fouls. 3 that's short off the side by Harris, tipped around, tipped down, and the foul goes on Trey Wade, freshman off the bench from Marietta, Georgia.
UTEP was 5 of 9 shooting threes until those last 2 trips went empty. Now UTSA's got to try to take advantage on the offensive end.
And the Miners still shooting 63%. That's absurdly good right now. The foul goes on Omega Harris, his second. So if the shots aren't falling, though, get to the free throw line. And now both of these teams are in the bonus on the next foul.
Well, Omega Harris has been bird dogging all night long. The star freshman 2-guard Javon Jackson. He's going to have his hands full.
Runner by Wallace.
That's the thing. Now they got their 2 best scorers on the floor at the same time. UTSA searching for any kind of answer to get one of these guys going, if not both of them.
The Roadrunners couldn't hit early. They've now made 6 of their last 8 to bring this to within 6 points. Osborne's had the hot hand early. They feed down low, wide open, and a finish by Wade.
Well, there was so much activity going on around the top of the arc. UTSA got backdoored for a bunny there.
And Wade tries to jump out and hedge and promptly commits his second foul.
Yeah, just a smidge late, but Javon Jackson's a handful. You know, we talked about his shooting and his ability to make a 3-point shot, but he's got amazing quicks and can get to the hole as well. But there you see, I mean, almost 3 seconds. You just can't let guys get loose around the rim like that.
A little gap in the zone, and Wade was able to slide underneath it.
Some confusion there. I didn't think everybody knew that it was a one-on-one situation.
Second one rattles in. Jackson's on the board with 2 points.
Things tightening up a smidge here after a slow start on both ends for UTSA.
Isaiah Osborne is on the bench for the Miners. He had 11 points early. And now after that torrid start, UTEP has kind of come back down to earth.
Nicolau with a great job getting the steal, and then look, he thought initially he had a run out, but pulled it back and set up the offense.
Cronin's pass got shoveled away, back down to the Miners. All the way to the rack, Lamlau the block, but it's goaltending. It will be a basket on the strong take by Evan Gilliard.
Wow. I'd like to have another look at that. Right on cue, boys, good work. Here we go. UTEP on a breakout, is that ball on its way down?
Hits the backboard first.
There you go.
That'll usually get you the goaltending call.
Every time. And that happened so quickly, I just thought I was looking at whether a ball was coming down or not.
Well, Ramlau does have 16 blocks in the season. That one goes for a bucket, though, for UTEP. Wallace with space. Doesn't need much space.
No,
that
and
one
it's
was off the mark.
always tough, though, when you got to receive that pass down low and then try to make a shot. Always tough for a shooter to do that.
Wade going to work, step through, shot blocked.
Ramlau, outstanding defense down on the block.
Jackson splits and then does pick up the foul. There's that speed. Such a quick burst to the basket from the freshman, Javon Jackson.
Just what the doctor ordered for UTSA. When in doubt, take it hard to the rack, force the action. So Fronin comes out.
Yeah, subs all around.
Rye back in. Nice job by Ramlau in the minutes he was in. Well, we've seen this before, Mike. UTSA make hay from the free throw line, and you know, the offense has been a little helter-skelter here in the first half. But at least they picked it up on the defensive end and able to kind of chip their way back into this ball game. UTEP, I'll tell you what, you can't be much hotter than they were to start this game. They've got some athletes.
They led by as many as 16. And that will help push the lead back out again, though.
Yeah, little blind play. And they're getting a lot of hay around the cup. UTSA is so worried about the perimeter, they're going to sleep underneath the hall.
That's Jake Flaggart trying to guard Keaton Wallace. Out to Nicolau, forcing his way. Got the 0 miss.
Tell you what, he tried to beat 3 guys to the hole, was able to get his own rebound at least. Ooh, that's a walk.
Van Rye just spinning the wrong way, and a turnover by UTSA. Well, back and forth they go, but it's the Miners surging out to a 37-29 lead. Hot shooting has propelled the UTEP Miners out to a 37-29 lead. Time to take a look at our game summary presented by Star Shuttle and Charter. Now hiring drivers. Call 210-341-6000. And the field goal percentage, astronomically good right now for the Miners.
Yeah, you know, and this is what happens. You get a team that comes out and drains a couple of threes early, then all of a sudden you've got to stretch your defense, play more around the perimeter, and now here of late, UTSA is getting beat inside, but UTEP is shooting 60% in this basketball game, and there's no reason why they got a lead there.
That'll probably win you any basketball game, regardless of opponent, regardless of venue. Now Villanova beat Georgetown in that national championship back in the 80s. Shot the lights out. Kick to the wing, rattles in, Gilliard.
It really is pick your poison. Now UTSA goes back to trying to sag a little bit and clog the middle, and UTEP goes right back to work from the outside. I mean, it's you're darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Foul on the perimeter goes on Trey Wade. That's his third. So back to the free throw line for UTSA. But it is remarkable. Now, all these coaches tell us they look better as a coach and their plays work better when teams are making shots. And right now, whatever Phil Johnson is drawing up looks incredible because his Miners are hitting everything.
You know, you can make this game really complicated if you want to, and it is. I mean, the game has evolved, obviously, and there's a lot more intricacies than there were maybe 20 or 30 years ago, but sometimes the bottom line is just putting the ball in the hole. And if you shoot it well, you're going to win a lot of ball games. I can guarantee you that. So UTSA has also done a very good job on the line tonight, now 7-7. That's kind of kept them in this thing when really this feels like it's more than a 10-point deficit at this point, the way things have gone.
Tip back out of bounds, and on the first miss there, coincidentally timed by Chuck saying they had been perfect. Well, coming up at halftime on the Nissan and Bernie halftime show, we'll take a look at the first half, sit down with Byron Fronin, the sophomore forward of the Roadrunners. We'll also be joined by Dr. Lisa Campos, Director of Athletics for UTSA. Used to work at UTEP also before she came to UTSA, so it's the Dr. Campos showdown. I'm sure she knows a lot of the participants and some of the ancillary members around these two programs.
You know, we've watched Javon Jackson a lot, and watching his offense right here. misses the three, but I don't know if he gets enough credit for his defense either, man. He is very active with those hands and did a really good job creating the turnover and getting the ball back for UTSA. They just couldn't shoot it and make it at the other end.
Roadrunners have gone with this zone for much of the second part of this first half. The three-guard lineup also in, a rarity for the Roadrunners this year, with Nicolau, Jackson, and Wallace all on the court at the same time. Lyle runs into a deep three, swish.
Yeah, better find one. He's feeling it, man. That was from the parking lot.
Trying to get the crowd fired up. Back to single digits once again.
Yeah, good crowd tonight, too, on whiteout night. We heard so much about UTEP's big man in the middle, Wilm. They haven't seen a whole lot of him tonight. Of course, they haven't needed him with what they've been able to do on both ends of the floor so far.
Wallace, free throw line jumper, knocks it in.
Keaton Wallace thought about a three, and then little dribble drive he was looking at. It's like, oh, they're going to sag, I'm going to bust. And all of a sudden, just like that, a 3 and a 2, and lead down to 5.
Already the most points for Wallace since December 30th against North Texas. He's at 14 in the first half. Grabbed by Harris, stepped out of bounds.
It's interesting watching this UTEP offense go to work. You know, a lot of isolation plays and just want to get their athletes involved. And to this point, you know, obviously they got a 40-35 lead, but you wonder if they're going to be able to shoot it at the rate that they are. But not an easy shot for most guys. You're Keaton Wallace, you're lefty, you're going to your right, but squared his shoulders and knocked it down.
Lyle feeling it.
Somebody's got it going, and he knows it. UTSA, you better find one every time down the court. Let's keep running the heat check until he proves otherwise.
Final minute of action, and the Roadrunners have brought it back to the closest it's been since it was 8-5. Those are the 16:34 mark.
Yeah, now the rim gets a little smaller for UTEP. They had everything going.
Deep three for Jackson off the side. That's a heat check if there ever was one.
Yeah, he wasn't the guy with a hot hand, though. Rama doing a great job trying to keep that alive.
That's one of those where you take it, you make it, and the crowd just gets absolutely fired up if you hit it anyway. Oh, final shot coming up. It'll be Evan Gilliard holding. Dribbles back and forth. And Gilliard got bumped. He'll go to the line. So in the bonus, that will put Gilliard at the line for 1-1. Foul goes on Nicolau, his first.
That's rough. You know, you got a team winding that shot clock down, game clock winding down, and you get a foul out on the perimeter. Not the way you want to end the quarter on defense, that's for sure.
Jake Flaggart will come back in, and Omega Harris, who had been playing with 2 fouls, will go to the bench. That was the first of a 1-1, so everyone settles back for one more. Well, UTSA will have the ball, a final possession here. But Gilliard can make it more than a one-possession game. And for the Roadrunners, they just hope to maybe come back and make it a basket deficit.
They'll have plenty of time to do it.
There's Jackson. Long dribbles, steps back, off the side of the rim, no good. And that's how the first half will come to an end. Though it was a back and forth half, it was a large lead by UTEP. They got out to a 16-point lead at one point. UTSA storms all the way back, and they hold UTEP to no field goals in the final 3.5 minutes. And right now, Phil Johnson will go to the locker room. Steve Henson will come over, and here's Chuck with the head coach. Chuck will get ready for him in a second. Here's Chuck standing by with head coach Steve Henson.
Well, Coach, a little bit of a slow start, but I think you probably like the way your team closed out this first half.
Like the way our guys responded. Yeah, it was a bad start from a lot of perspectives. You know, Nick got 2 fouls early. Their defenses, we talked about that. They gave us some different looks there. Tried to take Javon out. Had us kind of standing, a little passive early. Then we finally got into a little attack on the offensive end. We went zone on the defensive end, which helped us out a lot too.
All right, what do you need to see from your guys in the second half?
Well, we got so much more comfortable as it went along. We got to be able to play a little man-to-man. We got to fly around in our zone and keep the attack going offensively. You know, the attack was good.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time. Michael,
All
back
right.
to you.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Coach. So we are at halftime. Coming up next, the Nissan of Bernie halftime show. Highlights, interviews, and more. UTEP leads by 4 at the break. Welcome to the Nissan of Bernie halftime show. For better selection and better prices, visit Nissan of Bernie. UTEP leads UTSA by 4 at the half right now. Pleased to be joined by new Director of Athletics, Dr. Lisa Campos. And I know you have a connection to both UTEP and UTSA. So what does it mean to kind of be viewing your past and your present here?
You know, it was nice to catch up with some of the staff that are still at UTEP that were there when I was there. And of course, UTEP always has a special place in my heart. I got my doctorate degree, started my professional career at UTEP. So, but as I told Coach Henson and the guys yesterday, positive pressure, we got to beat these guys.
You have now arrived, and you've started your first week here. You've been here in San Antonio now for about a week. What's your impression been so far that you're in it and you're kind of getting to work?
Yeah, you know, I'm so excited to finally be here. Got here Sunday, but then we had the ice storm, so I couldn't really get to work until Wednesday afternoon. But it's been so great getting to know the students. I've had opportunity to meet with different student groups, our sport teams, our staff, our coaches. So it's just so great to finally be here.
As you start to get involved, as you start to kind of meet people and maybe gain an understanding of who wants what or what you need to do, have you kind of started to formulate a plan of maybe your first couple of months what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I've told the staff that really these 90 days it's going to be about listening, learning, trying to get me up to speed as quickly as possible so that we can start implementing whatever changes, knowing what we're doing really well, knowing the things that we need to do better. So again, just listening, meeting with the community, meeting with the staff, the students, and then facilities. Facilities are top of mind right now, and we're moving forward and looking at some of those things.
What have you liked so far? And it's just been kind of 1 week here. You were hired back in November, but now that you're in it, you're getting to work. What have you liked so far about your first couple of days here?
Yeah, you know, again, it's really just that connection again with the students, with the staff, with the coaches, with the community. It has been a jam-packed schedule, you know, 7 in the morning till 9 at night, meeting with folks. And so it's just really good listening to the support and the pride that people have for UTSA athletics and for the university in general. So that's been very positive that we have so much support and we know that there's so much potential here.
Well, Dr. Campos, thank you for joining us, and we'll let you go and enjoy the second half coming up.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
That's new Director of Athletics, Dr. Lisa Campos. UTSA trails by 4. We'll have the highlights and plenty more coming up as our halftime show continues. Welcome back to the Nissan of Bernie halftime show. For better selection and better prices, visit Nissan of Bernie. Well, right now we want to feature our player spotlight. It's on Byron Fronin, brought to you by RMA of Texas, world-class fertility care. Call 210-FERTILE in our player spotlight tonight with CSN's Aaron Carreño and Byron Fronin.
Okay, Byron, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us. Usually this is a busy time of year, but for y'all this week, got to breathe and relax a little. So how would you say practice has been? What have y'all been able to work on this week?
Yeah, like you said, this has definitely been a nice week to only have one week going into UTEP, and it's just been nice. We have a lot of focal points when you start working on. It's relaxing, yet it's a time where you need to put in a lot of work, and this is where we get better as a team for sure.
Absolutely, and so unfortunately we're going to take a look back at the past 2 games. Tough results, but yet they were really close games to those Florida teams. They lost a combined 7 points those 2 games.
Yeah.
Were y'all able to take away anything? Were y'all able to learn from those 2 tough losses?
Yeah, I mean, any game you go into, win or lose, you're able to take away stuff from that. It was tough losing the close games, but the good teams find a way to win the close games, and that's what we need to be able to do if we want to get where we want to go.
Yeah, and so looking at this young team, y'all are a young squad, including yourself, but if you had to pick one person who just really rallies the team and gets y'all riled up during those tough times, who would you say is that guy?
I don't know if I could pick one. Nick Allen has always been our vocal leader, and he gets us. When we were down 10 against FIU, he got us going, got us back in the game. And then, but Javon's always the one. Javon Jackson's always the one that's. We look for him, and he makes the big shots for us.
Okay, so I did my homework, and looking at the standings on Conference USA, besides looking at the top 4 teams, 5 and 6, still anyone's game. Anyone could be in this one.
Yeah.
So what would you say in knowing that? Does that give y'all a little bit a boost of confidence? Do y'all have a better hope for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we're confident going into every game. We know we got to win, bottom line, but yeah, it's nice knowing that we can win a couple games and move ourselves way up in the standings, so that's always nice.
You have made a name for yourself last season, and going forward, you're still, top 20 in rebounding in Conference USA, and you're still in your sophomore. You haven't even finished your sophomore season.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? How do you think you've improved from year to year?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take pride in rebounding, that's for sure. One of the things, a lot of people focus on scoring and stuff, and I'm focused on boxing out and getting the big rebound for the team, going down the other end. So it's always been a prideful thing for me.
Okay, well, we can't wait to look forward and see what the rest of the team and the rest of the season has in store for y'all, and we can't wait to cheer you on moving on. So good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our thanks to Aaron and Byron Fronin. And now, time to take a look. Hey, I got you back on camera with me. I want to take a look at the first half highlights. We'll talk through these. It was an impressive start for UTEP. First half highlights brought to you by the San Antonio Express News and real insights for over 150 years. How about the Miners starting from distance early on in this one?
Yeah, first it was Omega Harris getting it done from the outside, but boy, did he have some help. Kobe McGee, the Brandeis kid, but the guy that's been in fuego for them the entire game has been none other than number 13. Who says that's an unlucky number? Isaiah Osborne. Dude's 4 of 7, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, but he's been getting it done inside and outside. Bad start by UTSA on both ends of the floor. And then we talked about Keaton Wallace and having a hard time over this last few games making baskets. Not tonight. He's gotten himself going early and often in this game and really has made and brought back some flow to this UTSA offense overall. Cannot say enough about the job that Dion Lyle has done in this game. Anytime you can get a guy come off the bench and nail 4 3-pointers, you know that's doing something. Of course, UTEP, they found it from downtown early on, but then they went back inside. Then UTSA finish off with a nice little flurry to end the first half. And as we take a look at our San Antonio Express News stats from the first stanza, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me, Mike, is the fact that UTSA is totally getting outshot in this ball game. UTEP shooting at a 55% clip, and yet they only have a 4-point lead in this ballgame. It's because UTSA has done another amazing job around the basket, cleaning up those misses. They've got the rebounding edge. Turnovers by both teams, I think they both valued the ball. I think we're in for a whale of a second half.
Back and forth, second half up next. Start of the second half here from the Convocation Center. UTEP leads, but just by 4. And yes, they're up. I think both coaches will have some things they wanted to work on, but both coaches also probably pretty happy about how their team has done, especially UTSA, the freshman, Keaton Wallace, brought this team back in it when they were down by 16 points.
Yeah, and interesting to see them both on the floor at the same time during spurts in that first half. So Coach Henson trying to do anything to kickstart his offense, and I think one of the biggest things they had to overcome was all that foul trouble in the first half. Really nice play by Javon Jackson, had taken strong to the hole to start the second half for the Runners. But again, to come back from, having Allen and Javon both in foul trouble in that first half, that's not an easy thing to do when you're talking about 2 of your core guys.
That's the first field goal by Jackson, who's 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Subject of our player spotlight, Byron Fronin almost knocked that one away. Drive to the rack, Paul Thomas.
See, they just run a lot of isolation stuff, and it has worked a lot. I mean, these guys continue to get a lot of the shots and the looks that they want. Javon Jackson took a shot, and the ball was off the mark, but no call.
Osborne off the back of the rim, around, and then a foul. Contact on the floor. Well, tonight's second half of CSN basketball is presented by Homevestors. Need to sell your home quickly? Call Homevestors, the We Buy Ugly Houses people, 1-800-44-BUYER.
We're super happy that everybody's tuning in tonight on the CW and also KFOX in El Paso.
Going a little backdoor for Wilborn. He was fouled on the initial contact towards the hoop. That goes on Paul Thomas, his second.
Yeah, we saw that play work to perfection for UTEP in the first half. Little blind pass. UTEP doing a pretty good job of having the right guys in the right spot, but shooter was contacted.
Nick Allen was having some trouble, and he got pushed out of bounds, they say, by Paul Thomas. So Allen was falling out of bounds, threw it off of him, but Paul Thomas gets called for the foul, so that's back-to-back fouls on Thomas, now his third.
Paul Thomas's jaw was going to drop. He couldn't believe he was called for that.
So he comes out, Jake Flaggerton, and then a foul the other way. Was that one of those classic makeup calls?
I'm not even sure, but I saw, Wilborn III was trying to do some work prior to getting the pass, and refs thought that he was a little too physical trying to get to his space.
Well, tonight's second half scoreboard is sponsored by Smash and Crab. We ain't forking around. Call 210-509-7702. If there's one thing Chuck and I don't do, we do not fork around when it comes to broadcasting these games. Allen trying to find some space.
They're doubling the post hard. UTEP gonna have to knock these down.
Over the top, Allen can't hit that. Just too strong on that one. This was a 42-38 game at halftime. A couple of baskets for both teams in the early part of this second half. Osborne, swish.
They've got to get their handle on that guy because, we heard from everybody in the scouting report and everything else that the guy we had to watch out for was Matt Williams.
Strong take by Wilborn.
That they ran their offense through him. He was a great passer. He'd kick it out. He's hardly played tonight. I don't know if he's hurt, but whatever's going on that UTEP sideline, 13 has more than carried the load tonight for the Miners.
There's a great story about him, too, that the way he was recruited here to UTEP, played at the University of Windsor, scored 35 points in an exhibition game against Charleston Southern in August of 2016. You know who saw him? His fellow Canadian and UTEP now teammate Matt Wilms, who was just in the crowd, just watching the basketball game, saw this guy going off for 35 and said, hey, we got to get him a look. We got to get him on campus. They called Tim Floyd. Floyd saw the tape, and that's how Isaiah Osborne is a Miner.
There's so many great Canadian ball players now. It started with Steve Nash and Corey Joseph. The list goes on and on and on. Good players everywhere.
Drive by Harris, right to the rack, too strong, and then a foul on that drive. Goes on Dion Lyle.
It was almost a bailout. Let's see if there was contact at the end of this. Yeah. Little nudge, little contact. Either way, strong, hard, aggressive move by Omega Harris, taking it to the hole.
Well, Harris was so good last year. 22 games in double figures, named third team all-conference. And the coaching staff said, he benefited a lot from Dominic Artis, their guard who graduated, led them scoring, rebounding, pretty much everything. That's still what UTEP's kind of been looking for. Who can replace the production on a consistent basis that Artis provided? So they thought Harris could be that guy. He still might be, averaging 12 points a game. Knocked down a couple there.
And Coach Henson digging for more offense, putting Keaton Wallace back in this ball game. He's got scores everywhere. Wow, he's human. And the first miss of the night, it seemed like for Lyle, who's been burying him from all over the place.
Backing it out, Kobe McGee. couple of freshmen in the UTEP lineup as well, along with UTSA. Lyle slunk down, intercepted the pass.
Yeah, UTSA sagging back and playing his zone after getting beat off the dribble a couple of times, trying to cut some of these guys from going off, getting to the rim.
It's a little 7-0 run, though, by UTEP. Wallace ends that one.
Now, there's just no defense for that. And why would you go out and guard him? I don't care if he's hit a bunch of them. I mean, that's just, you're going to have to now. He's shown it to you. Man, that's a long three.
Would you call that three fence? Get out there, try to deny?
You got to do
There's
something.
no three fence for that?
Get him 4 points for that. It's well beyond the arc.
Miners trying to slash through this zone. Shot clock under 5. Long three by Wade off the top.
Now UTEP's offense is a little discombobulated on that possession, just passing it around the perimeter, and then got a bad shot.
Keaton Wallace on that far side was bouncing up and down, yelling for the basketball. UTSA couldn't skip it around the zone. Allen pushes it down to Nate Nicolau. Pop down to UTEP. McGee too hot to handle for Wade, out of bounds. And a timeout on the court. Back and forth game, but it's still the Miners on top. They lead by 6. An important Conference USA showdown between the Miners and the Roadrunners. Maybe no more so because of where they are in the standings right now. Let's take a look at the Conference USA scoreboard, sponsored by HEB. No store does more than my HEB. Old Dominion has surged into a tie for first with the win over FAU, and Middle Tennessee takes down a pretty good Western Kentucky team. So Middle Tennessee still in first place as well. Marshall, the highest scoring team in the conference, puts 86 on UAB. And then La Tech able to stifle Rice. So these two teams, Chuck, both 2 and 4 in conference, kind of towards the bottom of a very good league. And for the Miners, this is big. This is the first game of a 3-game road trip. For UTSA, they've been so good at home, they're about to go on a 3-game road trip.
They got to take care of home court. They've done a pretty good job, obviously, in the Henson era of doing just that. It's been tough here of late with 3 losses in a row in conference play, but all those games were winnable. So, you know, just like tonight, things aren't going your way for a part of it, but they're staying after it. It's not getting a lot of breaks like right there.
Nicolau stepped out of bounds. 8th turnover for the Roadrunners. Now more turnovers than assists. Coaches will hate that.
Yeah, and they
got to
take advantage of the fact that it looks like Matt Wilms is down with an ankle injury. I told him he wasn't going to come back. You see he's back on the bench, but obviously UTSA, they've had trouble with 7-footers all year long, and if that guy can't come back, UTSA's got to take advantage.
Lyle right to the rack. Big swat by Trey Wade.
Oh, nice job of Wade filling and helping on D and give himself a block. Because you got to believe that UTEP's offense is going to suffer with the big guy out. They ran everything through him.
And Wilms did get Nick Allen in foul trouble early. And had 4 points and 3 rebounds for his injury.
And we've seen this a lot from UTEP, just passing the ball around the perimeter. They look a little lost, but they've been beating guys off the dribble, and they've been making a preponderance of their shots. So, you know, even with the guy that's out of their offense, they're still managing to hold this lead, but Keaton Wallace doing an outstanding job taking it strong to the hole there.
UTSA would certainly like some more of that. Wallace just kind of fullback style went to the basket.
Sometimes it's what you got to do, especially take advantage of the fact that, hey, they're now just as big as you are. Not a lot of bigs in the middle, not a lot of height.
Swept around to the side. The zone has definitely slowed down the UTSA, or the UTEP offense, rather. Led by as many as 16 in the first half. The Roadrunners have chopped into it. Haven't led, though. Ball back down, and then off the knee of Allen.
Just a little out of control. Jackson goes strong to the hole and put up an errant shot trying to draw the contact, which didn't happen. But there you see a line on Matt Williams. He was 2 for 2, had 3 boards in the, how many minutes did he play? 10 minutes that he was in there. But again, they like to flow all their offense through him. And he's a willing passer, decent shooter, averaging 10 per game. So obviously if he does not come back with that ankle injury, it's going to be a huge blow for the Miners going forward in this one.
And tough for Wilms. Already had a spiral fracture in his right wrist that caused him to miss 4 games at the end of November into December. And now sidelined on the bench with the ankle injury.
Now bad news for UTSA is Javon Jackson got a little gimpy on that last drive to the hole, and they're looking at his knee. Boy,
That's
that
the
would
leading
be,
scorer for the
yeah.
Roadrunners.
Don't have to tell everybody what that guy means to the squad.
Well, more on that when we return. UTEP continues the lead, up by 4. Javon Jackson is back and standing in the huddle. You saw him go over to the trainer's table right before the timeout. This is the play where it happened a couple of drives ago.
You know, I've watched this play a couple of times now, and they were looking at his left leg. But I honestly thought his right leg took the brunt of that. So hopefully he's okay. It's good to see that he's at least back in the huddle, but we're not going to speculate as to what that is.
Well, second half replays are presented by Sideburns, exceptional grooming for exceptional men. Sideburns, 210-497-5873. I've given that phone number to Chuck for him to check out after the game.
Yeah, I got outstanding sideburns already, but the outstanding man part, no, I'm not even close.
Offensive foul, Byron Froning. That's his first.
Well, got to tip your cap to Trey Touchette for doing a good job selling that one in Lafayette, Louisiana.
The first minutes for Touchette tonight. Actually, pretty good in high school. 2-time high school player of the year in Louisiana. A junior from Lafayette. A lot of work by McGee. Back out to Osborne. Off the side.
See that, a lot of dribble drives. They're looking for an angle, try to get to the basket, and then they're just hoping that one of those threes goes in. They all went in, it seemed like, in the first half, but it has been a struggle for UTEP ever since.
Dane Nicolau hangs on the rim, gets it to drop.
It looks like he tries to assert himself more with his shots. The more UTSA seems to struggle from the field.
Dane Nicolau had the first points of the game for UTSA and hadn't scored since then.
Oh, he got him trapped.
Swing to the corner. There's Harris. A lot of contact. It goes on UTSA.
Wow.
That'll bring a timeout on the court. Roadrunners climbing back into it. UTEP hanging on. The scoring pace has slowed down in this half. 9 points for UTSA, 7 points for UTEP. And the back and forth game has kind of slowed a bit, but one guy who knows how to score, and this is the answer to our UTSA trivia question brought to you by Computer Nerds. Where does Javon Jackson rank among freshmen in the country? The answer is 6th. Out of all freshmen, he is 6th best scorer in the country. Computer Nerds, helping people use computers. Call 1-800-493-NERD. On the bench right now, going to come back from that ankle injury where we saw him go to the trainer's table for a brief moment. Before it's all said and done, you can probably imagine that for the Roadrunners, they will need Javon Jackson's scoring prowess.
Well, they got to find it from somebody because it's been a problem tonight. They're just a little out of sorts.
Osborne for 3, got it.
Well, that's the first time UTEP has really moved the basketball and done a nice job doing that seemingly since the start of the second half. And they got the ball to probably their most versatile guy, and he's had a whale of a night.
6'5" sophomore from Windsor, Ontario, in his first season here with the Miners. What a scoring punch he's added for them.
Looks like they've also picked up the intensity on the defensive end as well.
17 points tonight for Osborne. Big swat by Wade, his second block of the night.
Well, they got 6 seconds left on the shot clock, so plenty of time to get off a decent shot.
There's another look. Wade, big time.
Yeah, just sagging and waiting. Never understood why you just tap it to yourself, though. Why are you going to knock it out of bounds and give him another shot at this?
There's Jackson from the left side. Off the mark, down to Kobe McGee.
What's a shooter going to do? He's going to shoot it, right? Just back from a little knee ding, and just want to make sure the wrist was still cocking. I love it.
Osborne shooting over the zone again, this time off.
Now Van Rye doing a good job sealing so that Javon can get the rebound. Run a clear out.
Jackson knew what he wanted the whole time.
Action Jackson. Yeah, just needed the first one to get measured.
They're going to take a look at that basket. Marked as a 2 now. The official signal to the scorer's table. They want to take a look at that in the next dead ball. But for now, a 2 for Javon Jackson. Well, now they've changed it to a 3. Was marked a 2 on the scoreboard, changed to a 3. So it's only a 2-point deficit.
Yeah, another one and done for UTEP when they miss. Jackson jacking it up again.
Ramlau offensive board.
Oh, he's been special doing that.
Jackson and Wallace, these 2 freshmen, have led the way for most of the season for UTSA. Steve Henson talked about it. They're still waiting for that game when both of them put it on at the same time.
And Wallace was so good in the first half.
Throws it up off the front. Board fought for, and then Austin Carr is going to be charged with a foul.
Yeah, they're calling it on UTEP. No? I'm sorry, I thought I saw 13.
Actually goes on Ramlau, 31 instead of 11. Well, here's that 3 or 2. They're going to take a look at very close. Right now it has been marked as a 3-pointer for Javon Jackson. Quick swing down to Touchette. It's been a lot of zone for a team that doesn't normally play zone this much in UTSA. And we talked about the guards, all 3 of them on the court for the same time.
Yeah, UTSA's kind of had to do that, Mike. You know, they were getting beat off the dribble a lot, especially by that guy.
Osborne stepped out of bounds.
And it's really worked to their advantage. I mean, they've not only kind of cooled UTEP off in terms of shooting it, they've also forced a couple of turnovers here, gotten the ball right back, and right now get a chance to take the lead.
Miles swings it around. Too strong.
Yeah, nice play design, nice shot, just couldn't get it to go. A lot of ISOs, they're just trying to beat guys off the dribble, and now UTSA filling, trying to create the turnover. Oh, and then it's the bunny at the other end.
Lyle had a great move to get to the basket, didn't finish. Osborne the other way, gets the foul.
That's one of those, transition D, you missed the layup right there. It creates early offense for the opposition. Boy, that's 2 point-blank range. That's hard to believe with the kind of night that Dion Lyles had shooting the ball, and then on the other end, tell you what, man, this young man, Isaiah Osborne, has been a handful tonight for UTSA.
He's coming off a 21-point game in the win against FIU on Saturday. So both these teams had the week off. The Conference USA schedule, you play your traveling counterpart, usually Thursday, Saturday, but since these 2 are paired together, they got the week off. So there was no midweek game for either of them.
UTSA has done a nice job closing the gap in this ball game. Let's see if they can come all the way back.
Jackson, tough shot, almost went down. Does seem to like those off-balance kind of fadeaway shots.
Well, he's just so
Has a
athletic.
knack for it.
Yeah, and he's so good at elevating that, you know, good shooters can kind of collect themselves as they're going up, and he's as good as anybody.
There's Keith Frazier, limited minutes for him tonight. Hasn't found the scoring touch yet. Play on through contact.
Good job, one.
And then a foul on Evan Gilliard.
Yeah, Dion Lyle, that was all him. I mean, first it started with Fronin pushing the ball up the floor. UTSA didn't get the basket, but they're going to have another crack.
Over 2,200 on hand, biggest crowd of the season to see a pretty even basketball game. And if you like this exciting action, take a look at our CityWide Sports Network telecast calendar brought to you by IHOP. Visit IHOP.com. Join Chuck and I for the St. Mary's Rattlers hosting St. Edwards on Wednesday, January 24th at 7 on KCWX TV. For future games, visit CityWideSportsNetwork.com for our complete schedule of exciting college basketball. CSN, where it all begins.
Well, as the refs take a look at the monitor again to decide whether or not they got a 2 or a 3 from Javon Jackson, Mike, it's been really the story of the last 3 or 4 games for UTSA.
Yeah, that was the one I mentioned they would take a look at. It was very close right here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from that angle whether or not it was a 2 or a 3 or if his foot was on the line, but you know, Mike, I mean, they're shooting 34% in this game, the Runners are. And yet, they're right in this game. And as well as they shot the ball up until, 2 weeks ago, they shot under 40% in all 3 of those losses that they've had tagged here in a row. So, sometimes, again, we talked about this earlier, it's about making shots, but, they're rebounding the ball as well as you can possibly imagine in this one, up 33-25. So they're keeping it a 3. There's not enough to overturn that, but you got to just, try to find a way to get some of these to go. And sometimes when you take it hard to the rack, like DeNicolau just did, that's the way to get yourself going.
Well, Chuck, we mentioned this at the very top of the broadcast, highlighted both Osborne and DeNicolau. And DeNicolau is the guy who has kind of turned into the clutch scorer for UTSA. He'll take that big last shot when they've needed one.
Boy, how about the angle on that? Almost went down.
UTSA looking to take the lead for the first time since a minute 20 in this game. Nicolau, the fake, the scoop, and the Roadrunners are on top.
Little Tim Hardaway from back in the day. Act like you're going to go behind your back. Get yourself a bunny for the second time in a row.
First lead since it was 3-2. Long 3, Gilliard off.
Gilliard, that's 2 empty trips for him in a row. UTEP is just not moving the ball a lot on offense. It's really not their game. When you don't make those outside shots, you got to move it. Wow, that was a good pick by Fronin.
DeNicolau off.
It was almost like DeNicolau thought they were going to call a foul.
Kind of stopped and
right.
Shorted his shot.
Yeah, Fronin's the last guy you want to run into down there on the block.
Well, the Miners scored 42 points in the first half. Just at 53 right now, nearly 15 minutes into this half.
UTSA just daring Touchette to shoot the basketball. He was wide open. You got to take it. Just a little too long.
Jackson swings to Fronin. Got it partially blocked. The putback doesn't go.
This has got to be so aggravating. You give that Fronin, make that shot 99 out of 100 times.
Osborne, strong finish in traffic.
Yeah. Almost picked up the foul as well. I mean, and that's, your basic 4-point swing. You can't make a layup on one end, then you give up one at the other.
That ends a drought of over 5 minutes from the floor for UTEP. They're back in front. Osborne, 20.6 rebounds to pace the Miners. Fronin got the contact. They want to count the bucket. UTSA does, the refs don't want to. But it's an offensive foul. That's why they're not counting.
It looked like, I don't know if there was some indecision initially on which way to call this, but Fronin trying to beat his man off the dribble, and I think they got the call right. It's first guy to the spot, and Touchette doing a nice job beating Fronin to the spot. And a costly turnover for the Roadrunners.
Osborne again almost had it. Ball slapped around. Thomas trying to get it free, but it goes to the Roadrunners.
Yeah, Keaton Wallace blocking his man out, able to get the ball back to UTSA.
Jackson slicing through and lost it to the Miners.
UTSA, though, doing a good job getting back. Keaton Wallace with a strip.
The two freshmen out and running for UTSA. Lyle for a three off the front.
God, he's made all those, it seems like, tonight. Just a shade short. Ooh, we got a barn burner going here.
Isaiah Osborne has been the offense for UTEP. Only Paul Thomas in double figures, and a turnover for the Miners will give the ball back to the Roadrunners. Back and forth they go. UTEP leads by a point, 4:44. 3:37 left. Back and forth, UTEP had lost the lead. The Miners now back on top. We'll have plenty to break down coming up in the John Wayne Services post-game show. Highlights, interviews, stats, and plenty more. But right now, there's 3:37 left of compelling basketball to get to here at the Convocation Center.
Absolutely, and you know, we talked about UTSA and their inability to make baskets tonight, but they've really defended well. In fact, UTEP now down to 42% shooting in this game, just 21% from the floor in the second half, less than 20% from three. So UTSA has figured it out defensively. Now, can they find enough offense to pull out this game down one with 3:30 left?
Wide open in the corner. Dane Nicolau over the top, no good.
Where they got exactly what they wanted. Remember we saw them work on that this morning during shoot-around, how to try to beat the 1-3-1. Get a score in the corner and get them a wide open shot. It's been the story of the night, though. They just can't get them to go down enough.
3 home losses for the Roadrunners in a row by a combined 8 points.
They get a chance to get out and run here.
Wallace trying to go to work. And it's off of him.
I thought it was off of 21.
I thought he got bailed out as well.
Well, Touchette doing a pretty good job, because guarding Keaton Wallace one-on-one when he's got you in a blender, not an easy thing to do, and he was at least up for the task.
Bounce pass to Thomas in the heart of that zone. There's Touchette firing off the front.
Wasn't ready to shoot. He was looking to pass. You're that wide open, you've got to pull it, but you got to be ready to do it.
More minutes than maybe Touchette is used to. Only averages about 10 minutes a game. Dane Nicolau drives. They will not count the basket. Foul on the take. That's the 6th foul on UTEP. 3rd on Kobe McGee.
Boy, what a ball game. A lot of defense, and who's gonna find the offense here late?
There's another one on McGee. That's their starting point guard. Now his 4th foul. The homecoming for the San Antonio kid. Plenty of fans and friends, family members in attendance. Over 30 watching Kobe McGee. But he's just picked up his 4th foul and put UTSA at the free throw line. Well, now they'll have to check to see if that was the 7th. The scoreboard had said 6 before that foul, and then it did not change after the foul right there. That's a familiar shot tonight.
Indeed.
Well, I believe they just didn't change the scoreboard quick enough. I think that's the 7th foul.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Mike? And we were talking to both coaches this morning and talking to UTEP's interim head coach, Phil Johnson. He's like, you know, we've put some minutes together, we've strung some minutes together, and we played really well in a lot of these first halves, but it's been tough for us in the second half of a lot of these games, and it has been tonight. Now, nobody expected them to shoot 60% the whole game, so we knew that was going to probably come down, but they're just not playing with the energy and the passion, I think, that they exuded in the first half. And you know, UTSA, again, you know, the bugaboo the last couple of weeks has been, are we going to be able to shoot it like we were shooting it earlier in the year? And the sledding has been tough for them tonight at times as well, but add it all up, and right now they got a 1-point lead with a smidge over 2 minutes left to go.
What did Phil Johnson tell us earlier today, too? UTEP's interim head coach. The second half has been an issue defensively for his team because they're away from their bench. Can't coach them as well as he does in the first half. Long three for McGee. Gets his own miss. And it's ripped away by Jackson. And here comes UTSA. Jackson banks it off the side, no good. And then a foul as a spinning Omega Harris fell into Javon Jackson.
Yeah, just a little bit too much in a hurry, both teams. You know, first UTEP trying to get in the paint, ball gets kicked away. And Jackson tried to get it up the floor. Ball gets knocked away, but he stayed after it. Good hands and a little out of control, but we've seen him make that basket a million times. Looked like he was just standing there, but still got called for the foul.
A 1-and-1. That's the 8th team foul on UTSA. And Harris hits the first.
You got to be so clutch with these free throws in these games. UTSA has won a lot of games this year by being spectacular at the free throw line. They're going to have to be good again tonight.
Yeah, Harris, you see it, 3 for 3 from the line. Rims that one in.
All right, set it up, see if you can get it back.
One-point lead for the Miners. They're winless on the road this year, 0-3. Away from El Paso. De Nicolau forces his way in, doesn't get the basket. He's back at the line.
Well, they were trying to run something at the top of the key with either De Nicolau or Allen, and the defenders just refused to leave De Nicolau, and he just backed his way down. It was like the double never came, so he just was posting his guy.
And that's it for Kobe McGee, a freshman back in his hometown tonight, fouls out. Pretty solid game for McGee, though. He had the offense going early. 5 points all in the first half, go along with 5 rebounds.
And that's, if you're UTEP, as we watched De Nicolau knock in that first one, square this game, you know, you got to help the freshman out. You know he's got 4 fouls. You got to send the double team and try to get the ball out of De Nicolau's hands because you know he's trying to get him fouled out of this game.
De Nicolau's second is good. And now a substitution for UTSA, Byron Fronin comes back. Both teams pretty good on timeouts. You see the 3 for UTSA, the 2 for UTEP. McGee is out. That means some run for Evan Gilliard, who has the ball right now. Another freshman. He's from Chicago.
And again, this is where UTEP really misses their big man because their offense in the half court is just not used to missing this guy in crunch time.
Gilliard trying to drive, steps through, fouled from behind. Byron Fronin cannot believe it. Thought he got a clean block on Evan Gilliard.
Yeah, it looked like it was clean to me too from my angle.
That's just stunned on his face right there.
Well, Gilliard doing an outstanding job of getting himself close to the basket and then getting his first level defender up in the air so he could at least get the shot attempt off.
It's the first.
Let's take a look. Allen came over to switch. Well, maybe a little push off there, but now Fronin got him across the head on the way down. Didn't see that.
Second one pure.
All right, got a 1-point game, and UTSA wants a timeout.
Dane Nicolau calls the timeout. UTSA still has a pair of them. This has been the circumstance for UTSA in these final few home games. These last 3 home games they've all lost, especially last Saturday. FAU made a go-ahead 3. They were down a point. They made a go-ahead 3 with 9 seconds left and went on to win 73-69. Then we were here on December 30th when they lost to North Texas by a point, missed the layup. And then they lost to FIU by 3 points.
Well, what was interesting was, you know, the North Texas game that we did a couple of weeks ago, UTSA was in a similar situation, and they got exactly what they wanted at the buzzer, but DeNicolau rimmed out a layup at the buzzer. It was a heartbreaking defeat, but a great play design there to get him loose around the cup. So, you know, again, this has been the refrain lately. They've all been close. Some have gone their way, but a few of them haven't. A couple of possession games here during this 3-game losing streak, but gonna have to find a way. Plenty of time, obviously. You're gonna get the ball a few times here if you're UTSA. You just gotta find a way, get that lead, and then D up and know that you're gonna have to make some free throws down the stretch. Same thing goes for UTEP.
Well, the largest crowd of the season for UTSA seeing a good one. 1-point lead for the Miners, 1:11 left. Again, UTEP hasn't won a road game this year. They're 0-3 on the road. They did come in after an impressive win against FIU on Saturday. And UTSA is trying to snap a 3-game home losing streak after starting 6-0 at home. And Nicolau spins, goes to the rack, flips it up and in!
Say what? I don't even know how he got that up, much less in.
I'm stunned. Some fluky geometry to spin that one up and in, and now a timeout by UTEP. I think it might have gotten tipped somehow.
Well, I mean, the thing I like is that, you know, his teammates can play ball. We can't. They're just as shocked as we are. Look at this.
No, right over the top.
Nicolito Jordan. Oh, a little Michelangelo. Look at that.
Just scooping up and under through traffic.
Beating 3 guys to the hole. And, you know, we talked about this at the onset. He's not afraid of the moment. Win, lose, or draw. He's made a game-winning bucket. He's missed a game-winning bucket. And right now, I mean, that's as clutch as it gets.
So if you're UTEP, Isaiah Osborne has been the one to lead you. 20 points. Paul Thomas has 10, but outside of that, there hasn't been much production. What are you drawing up here if you're the Miners, where the offense is kind of stagnated in the second half?
Well, I agree. I mean, there's been flashes where they've moved the ball, but, you know, I think, honestly, Isaiah Osborne, 13's got to be your number 1 option. Omega Harris has also shown the ability to knock down some shots tonight, but 13 looks special to me. And I know he's going to be strongly on the minds of the Roadrunners here. But got to keep an eye on Gilliard, too. I mean, he's shown he can beat guys off the dribble.
Into a zone for the Roadrunners. Feed down low. Thomas in for 2.
They got burned down low again. Just great pass by Gilliard.
And now a timeout for the Roadrunners. Down to 1 timeout for both teams at 36 seconds left. Vital possessions here, both offensively and defensively, to draw these situations up.
Well, now you're Coach Henson, and you know, you might be looking at the shot clock, game clock, see how you can figure out how to get a 2-for-1 here. But again, just can't say enough about the pass. I mean, that's a whisker away from getting knocked away by Fronin. And then, for Paul Thomas to be able to not only get the ball, but then find an angle to get the basket. Clutch on his part. So we'll see how UTSA wants to do this. Do you want to run some clock, then get your shot, or do you really want to see if you can get a basket in 6 or 7 seconds and then know that you'll have at least one possession left?
They are down by 1. 10-second differential, shot and game clock. Allen drives, floats it in.
Well, that was his game last year. But he's been more of a three-point shooter this year, but that was a great play. Recognized the fact that if he gave a little head fake, he could get some space, get into the lane, and not an easy thing to do. Game on the line, hit a little runner like that, but Allen equal to the task, and now the onus back on UTEP to try to get this thing back.
Shot clock off. No timeouts left for the Miners, trailing by 1. So again, the same situation. How much time do you let waste away before you start your drive and get to the basket?
Well, the big thing is you want to take a good shot. But you're right, you don't want to waste too much time, because the bottom line is you're down in this basketball game. If you get a miss, you want to try to get a rebound. And if you can't get the rebound, you've got to foul and immediately put UTSA on the line, so you'll still have a chance in this ball game. So they're going to have to draw something up and make something happen quick, win, lose, or draw. We saw what UTEP did on their last possession. They ran some back stuff, and they got Paul Thomas loose around the cup. We'll see how they choose to do it this time around.
Gilliard will inbound. Thomas is down at the baseline. Omega Harris races to get the basketball. Attacks right away, and the ball stripped away by Jackson. He's going to sprint right to the rack and lay it in.
Still got to play D.
And now a timeout, Steve Henson.
Action Jackson does it on the defensive end of the floor. We talked about it time and time again. As good as he is on offense, he's very active on defense. And right there, he's made sure that UTSA is going to have a 3-point lead with 12.9 seconds left. How about this? UTEP tries to drive it, and Jackson just collapses, steals the ball, and then takes it coast to coast.
Harris tried to dribble right through the teeth of that zone. Jackson was all over it. That's the 7th steal for UTSA tonight. If you're Steve Henson, are you telling your team to foul here? They are up 3, and there's only 12 seconds left.
That's always an option. We saw it the other night at Texas State. The problem is you've got to be very decisive on your foul, because if these guys try to get a shot up and then you hack them, the last thing you want to do is send a team to the line for 3 free throws. But again, just a great play by Javon Jackson in a 1-point game to be able to D up and then convert it the other end.
12.9 seconds on the clock. There was a brief conference to see how much time was left. The officials did determine 12.9. Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace, the 2 freshmen for UTSA, have combined for 30 points tonight. And might have had the biggest steal of that situation if the Roadrunners hold on to win.
Well, Henson has gone with his 5 best players here in crunch time. Not a surprise there. What is a little bit of irony, if you will, the fact that UTSA is still shooting 36% in this game. And for all the talk about how this team scores for most of this season, it's been their defense tonight that has given them this 3-point lead.
No one guards the inbounder. The clock is running before Paul Thomas, or before Evan Gilliard touched the ball, and that's what they have to go look at. And Phil Johnson is rightfully indignant. And then they have to push him away. But those are precious seconds there that ran off the clock before Evan Gilliard touched the basketball. And yes, it's a kind of feinting act where you pretend to touch it to kind of get the defense on you. But the clock certainly started before he touched the basketball.
You know, you're going to have to take it side out again and put time back on the clock, obviously.
He doesn't touch it. No. And, you know, close. Did he touch it right there? No. So he finally touched it, and 3 seconds ran off the clock. Now, we should note that the clock has already been reset here in the arena. And there on the scoreboard to 12.9. That's what it was originally at. I think they're going to look to see, did his hand touch this? Very close right there. So then the clock should start.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can't blame the clock operator with the eye test. I mean, that is awfully close. And now these guys got to sort through it and figure out, where do we go from here? Here's another angle. Right, they're close, but looks like he never did touch it.
You're
but again, you know, based on the angle
yeah.
and, you know, where the clock keeper is, essentially the 50-yard line, tough angle to see whether or not, because that was awful close. I mean, we had to look at it from 5 different angles just to make sure.
Interim head coach Phil Johnson, 6-6 since taking over after Tim Floyd retired on November 28th. But a long-time assistant of Tim Floyd.
Yeah, 16 years, right? He was even with them when they were with the Chicago Bulls. So I think like 16 of his 37 years coaching was with Pink.
Also was a head coach at San Jose State, 2 stints there. 12.9 still on the clock. And now some extended pressure by UTSA. They want to guard everyone very tight. 3-point ball game.
Yeah, you got to make them work. But
knocked down 8 threes tonight.
This is risky because you get some of these guys with a head of steam. Sometimes they're hard to guard.
They will not foul. Gilliard dribbling back and forth. Osborne fires it up. It's off the side. Ball bouncing out of bounds, and it goes to the Roadrunners. 1.7 seconds left.
Just got to inbound the ball.
No timeouts, though, for UTSA if they can't inbound this one.
And just make sure if you inbound it, and if you can't get somebody open, throw it on your end of the court, not UTEP's.
Fronin throws it into space. It
Great
goes to
job.
Wallace, and that'll, a foul call. Thought he slipped through the traffic. But a good foul there by Paul Thomas. It really looked like Keaton Wallace had kind of broken free of everyone.
Well, he did, and really good eye contact between teammates. Fronin making sure that that ball was going into their side of the court. I mean, the last thing you want to do is, if you're having a hard time inbounding the ball, is turn it over on the opposition's end of the floor.
1 second left. Keaton Wallace just needs 1. He will only shoot 1 and 1, though. 19 foul. It's up. It's good. Well, that should be enough. And then semantics, he will shoot this one. Now, UTSA was 0-8 this year when trailing at the half. They trailed 42-38 in this one. And they're going to come away with a win. 65-61. The Roadrunners snap a 3-game home losing streak with the 4-point win. Now 3-4 in conference. UTEP falls to 2-5. They're also winless on the road at 0-4. Away from El Paso. 7-12 on the season. UTSA gets back to 500 at 10-10 on the year. It was a tremendous performance from the freshman Javon Jackson. Finishes with 11 points, 5 rebounds. And then Keaton Wallace had his highest scoring game since December 30th. 19 points for Wallace, 20 points rather for Wallace after that final free throw, to go along with 3 rebounds as well. So Steve Henson will make his way over here. Some well-wishers are going to get with him. And now he will funnel his way over to Chuck. Chuck, there we go. What do you have for the coach?
Well, Coach Henson, somebody once said defense wins championships. I think it pretty much won this game tonight, too.
Yeah, we never got into much of a flow offense, and we had some good attack at times. Obviously, Giovanni was terrific down the stretch, attacking and getting the free throw line, making good plays, showed his leadership for us. Defensively, it was kind of strange. We felt like we were just standing around the zone, and they got a little tentative. You know, and against our man, they were attacking. They got a little tentative against our zone, and they missed a lot of shots. And I think we rebounded it pretty well. Just proud of the way our guys hung in there. We needed that, obviously. UTEP's a good team. We just needed to find a way to win, and it wasn't easy, but we'll take it. Yeah, I mean, especially with the way things have gone the last 3 games. I mean, to be able to come in here and, you know, if somebody would have told you you were going to shoot under 40% for this ball game and still win, I would have thought you probably would like that. Yeah, I mean, again, we're to the point where I like the response our guys had, the look in their face today. I mean, they were dialed in, locked in, those huddles. You know, they knew it was all about finding a way. Didn't matter how, just find a way. We get a steal there late, which was key. Moved the ball for the most part, so proud of the way our guys handled it.
Coach, thanks for your time. Congrats on the win.
All right, thanks to Coach and to Chuck. Coming up, our post-game show, John Wayne Service Company post-game show. We'll recap this thrilling game. UTSA comes out on top by 4. Welcome to the John Wayne Service Company post-game show. When you need heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical help, make just one call to fix it all. 210-293-6700. A thrilling game, a win for UTSA, 65-61, and it's time now to really break down this one, Chuck. And the guy who we talked about at the top of this broadcast, Giovanni De Nicolau, well, you know what? He is going to be our player of the game in this one. Our Who's Rolling, presented by Rolling Rentals and More. Rolling Rentals and More, wheels, tires, appliances, electronics, no credit check, easy payment plans, low cash prices, 210-521-RENT. De Nicolau, we talked about him being the clutch guy, stepped up down the stretch, 12 points in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, and he had a couple of really nice plays. I mean, that little fake behind the back, get yourself a layup, and then just when you think you've seen it all, whoop, now you see me, now you don't. Cutting to the rack, somehow finding an angle, throwing it up off the glass. Getting it to go, I mean, that was something else.
Some clutch plays down the stretch. That zone for UTSA might have been the difference. They hold UTEP to 20% shooting in that second half. But for the play of the game, it came down to one final moment. And in fact, it was that zone where UTEP was trying to dribble through it. So play of the game presented by the Wellmaker Law Firm. Choose well, choose Wellmaker. Call 210-828-6033. And it's Javon Jackson right at the end.
Yeah, you're in a one-point game. You got the lead. You're trying to get a stop, and Javon Jackson doing more than that. He gets the stop single-handedly and gets the steal and then fences the goods at the other end, giving UTSA a 3-point lead, which was the margin of victory until they added a free throw. They end up winning by 4, but you know, he didn't have the greatest night shooting, just 3 of 14 from the floor. But, hey, when they needed it the most, that's been his game all year, you know. He'll find a way to help get you the W at the end of the game.
Jackson and Wallace. Time for a look now at the final stats brought to you by the South Texas Ford dealers. UTEP shoots 40%, but a bit deceiving. They shot only 21% in the second half. And UTSA, they continue to knock down three-point field goals well. So that was the big equalizer there in this second half.
Yeah, that and the fact that UTSA destroyed UTEP on the rebounding edge as well. I mean, and I would have never believed that UTEP had more assists in this game than UTSA, but you know, the bottom line, you got to feel bad for UTEP too. You took their big 7'1" big man out of this game early with an ankle injury, and we talked about how they like to run everything through their guy in the middle. With him being out of this game, I think it really helped. It hindered UTEP offensively and defensively, and you know, they still hung in there and made this a pretty darn good ball game.
UTSA rallies from a halftime deficit for the first time this year. We'll continue to wrap this one up. More post-game coverage coming up. UTEP falls on the road. Welcome back to the John Wayne Service Company post-game show. If you need heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical help, make just one call to fix it all. 210-293-6700. Time to take a look now at our post-game show highlights. They're sponsored by the San Antonio Express News. Real news and real insights for over 150 years. This one, Chuck, very thrilling back and forth down the stretch. Started off UTEP in a flourish from distance.
Oh my gosh, they were hitting everything, whether it was from 3 or from 2. But, you know, you got to tip your cap to Isaiah Osborne early because he had it going. And then UTSA kind of bogged down to start this game. They tinkered with their starting lineup tonight, and they had Keaton Wallace coming off the bench, and apparently that was just what the doctor ordered because Keaton Wallace had himself one heck of a ball game tonight. 7 of 12 from the floor, finished with 20 points. We talked about his penchant for winning the Freshman Player of the Week award in this conference 4 times this year. De Nicolau also had a great game as well. Shot 50% from the floor, had some big shots, especially in crunch time. Nice little head fake there, getting himself to the rack.
Yeah, the clutch drives when it mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about, he's not afraid of the moment. He's had several game-winning shots already this season. Again, I just love the old Tim Hardaway fake behind the back, go up and get yourself a bunny right there at the end. And now all you have to do is do a little Tim Hardaway post-game show and say you're going to get yourself, whatever beverage of your choice and go out and celebrate this one, because this was a big one for UTSA.
Yeah, UTSA snaps the 3-game home losing streak, and they needed Day Nicolau and all of those guards down the stretch, along with some zone that they went to. The 3-guard lineup we hadn't seen much of, but they go with the 3-guard lineup, they go with the zone, and they get the win. And now they make a big jump in the conference standings because they were 2-4. So look at our conference standings presented by the San Antonio Chevy dealers. UTSA hops up to 3-4. It's a very crowded middle of the pack. UTEP falls to 2-5. That's a big win before a 3-game road trip coming up for the Roadrunners.
Well, again, we talked about coming into this game with a 3-game losing streak, and all of those games were winnable. Now, they've won some close games too, so, you can play both sides of the fence here. But, again, a step in the right direction tonight. You had to shake the cobwebs off because the confidence on this young team was a little bit shaken. When you lose 3 close conference games in a row, especially teams that are on the bottom of this conference standings list, that's going to shake you a little bit. So for them to be able to bounce back tonight, and again, when you shoot 36, 37% from the floor, you're not going to win a whole lot of basketball games. But they found a way tonight, and that's super key. Again, a slow start tonight, but they battled through some things. Not only the fact that they couldn't make a shot, but the fact that they had 2 of their best players in foul trouble. So to be able to overcome all of that tonight, again, shots are going to flow. Sometimes you're going to make them, sometimes you're not. And, this is one of those nights they didn't go in, but you got to figure some things out along the journey to get yourself into the win column, and UTSA did exactly that tonight.
They had been so good at home, and it doesn't get much easier because now the Roadrunners have to go on the road to Middle Tennessee and UAB. Middle Tennessee, the team picked to win the conference. UAB, very tough on the road. And then Marshall, the highest scoring team in the land, and Western Kentucky, very good. So that was a big momentum, confidence-building win before we saw right there a huge one on Thursday night.
And I think as you look through this schedule, if they can just find a way to maybe go 2-2 over these next 4, I think that would be a huge win for them. And again, I think the biggest thing for UTSA going forward is they've got shooters. They've got darn good shooters. What they need to do is they've got to shoot with confidence. They can't be afraid to miss shots. Go into every shot thinking you're going to make every shot, and you got to let it loose against these teams because you've got nothing to lose in any of those 4 games coming up.
Well, this was a thrilling one. Up next on our CityWide Sports Network telecast calendar, brought to you by IHOP. Visit IHOP.com. Join us for the St. Mary's Rattlers hosting St. Edwards on Wednesday, January 24th at 7 on KCWX TV. For future games, visit CityWideSportsNetwork.com for a complete schedule of exciting college basketball. CSN, where it all begins. Well, that'll do it for our broadcast tonight. Tonight's CSN telecast of UTSA basketball is a Learfield presentation with Corner Moon Productions and the Roadrunner Sports Network. For Chuck Migatenik and our entire crew, this is Mike Lefko. Good night from the Convocation Center on the campus of UTSA. The final score, Roadrunners 65, Miners 61.